Overcoming the fear of abandonment. If you've been raised in a dysfunctional home, then you are an adult child of a dysfunctional family. I am an adult child of a dysfunctional family, and I struggled with the fear of abandonment, so I understand it both professionally and personally. So what is the fear of abandonment? Well, all of us need consistent care and attention when we are children. It's just the way that we're made, and we need it for far longer than other animals and species need it, because it takes us a very long time to grow up. And that consistent care needs to be emotionally, physically, relationally, mentally. I mean, we need to know that our caregiver or caregivers are there for us and are taking care of us. So abandonment can be an emotional abandonment. It can be a mental abandonment. It can be a physical abandonment where the person is actually not there or has left us or never been in our life. Or it could be somebody who comes and goes. It could be a situation where your parent is preoccupied with the problems of the other parents. For instance, one of your parents was an alcoholic or an addict, and the other parent was focused on reacting to that person and taking care of that person and trying to get that person to stop drinking or using. So in other words, you would have abandonment for both your parents in that. And it could be, in mine, both my parents worked, both my parents provided a home, so I did not have abandonment in terms of my home or what was going on, but I did have emotional abandonment because they were preoccupied with the problems surrounding the alcoholism and the problems in the home, and I was expected to be a little adult, and I didn't have the consistent attention that I needed. And my children have also had, been in a dysfunctional home, and so they have issues resulting from that. So the fear of abandonment develops when you are not abandoned. And then, when you are abandoned as a child, and later on in life, whenever abandonment is threatened or implied or feared, you are going to react rather intensely. It could be that you are going to cling when that fear of abandonment comes up and just be super insecure and demanding and needing reassurance and just kind of almost smothering the person. And then the other side happens when you are also fearing abandonment and you preemptively push that person away. So you might think, this could be unconscious or conscious, person's going to leave me anyway, so I might as well just leave myself so that I won't be abandoned, or I might as well push this person away and get it over with. So you might be angry, you could be accusatory, you could be jealous, you could be accusing the person of cheating on you, of not being faithful, of not loving you, and you could actually cause problems in the relationship to where, it would become a problem that could threaten to break up the relationship. So what do you do when you feel the fear of abandonment? I can tell you that it is strong, it is intense, it is illogical. Now, if somebody really is threatening to leave you, then yes, you might fear abandonment, but if you're having an appropriate response to that, then that isn't necessarily the dysfunctional adult child of a dysfunctional home type of abandonment. The fear of abandonment I'm talking about is left over from childhood and comes up when you're not necessarily being abandoned. Let me give you an example. When I was first married, my husband was going out of town for work, just 2 hours away. I had no doubt that he was not going to that work. I knew he was going out of town to work. I knew where he was going to be. I could call him. We had cell phones back then. I could talk to him. He wasn't threatening me, he wasn't saying anything, and I flipped out. I flipped out because I could not handle him being away. This is when I was very young, got married when I was 20, but I couldn't handle him being away, and I felt like I was being abandoned, like he was leaving me. And the feeling was so intense and so overwhelming that I got super angry and just kind of went kind of nuts. And it was irrational, it didn't make any sense. And he was like, what in the world is going on? And quite frankly, I didn't really know what was going on, except I felt like I could not endure him going out of town to work, even for 2 weeks at a time. I will tell you then once you, so when you are dealing with fear of abandonment, the first step in overcoming it is to recognize it. Like I just said, I saw that happening. I recognize this is an overreaction. This is illogical. This doesn't make sense. What is it? And this was back at the time when adult children of dysfunctional family research was just coming out. So I went to a therapist and talked to him, and he explained what it was. And I said, oh, that makes so much sense. So recognize that you have the fear of abandonment. Number 2, identify the root. Where did it come from? Is it from the childhood? Is it from a prior partner who abandoned you, who had an affair, who, had a different life and you didn't know what was going on and now you're just super reactive? Where did the root come from? Number 3, recognize and label the triggers. What are they? What are the things that happens in your particular relationship? Because this is not going to happen with your boss going out of town. This isn't going to happen with your child. This is going to happen with your intimate partner, the partner that you are depending on and vulnerable to, that you have a fear of losing. So this is going to be the person that you need love from and that you need a relationship with. So what are those triggers? When the person is tired and doesn't respond to you, when the person goes out of town to work, like in my case, when the person has a relationship with someone else, even a friend, or if the person stays late for work, or if the person pays more attention or pays attention to his family instead of you. I mean, what in your relationship triggers the fear of abandonment? Gotta find those, gotta know what they are. 4th, you want to share it with the person who is triggering you. You want to be honest. You want to say, hey, I've got the fear of abandonment. This is where it came from. This is what triggers it. I am going to ask you for your help. I'm going to say, will you support me? When I overreact, I'm going to try to take responsibility for my overreaction and my fear of abandonment. Will you then not get mad at me? Will you understand what's going on with me? Will you give me grace and compassion? And if possible, if you have it within yourself, would you please reassure me that, hey, calm down. I'm not abandoning you. I'm just doing blank, blank. So you're asking that person for support by sharing it with that person. That's super helpful. Super, super helpful. Then further, the next step is when it actually comes up and you recognize, oops, fear of abandonment just got triggered, you self-talk. The self-talk is, this is not going on right now. This is old stuff. This is from my childhood. This is from that past relationship. This is not related to what this person just did, okay? Old stuff. When you do that with yourself and you give yourself that self-talk, it helps you to control your actions. It helps you not to flip out. It helps you not to become, accusatory, and helps you not to get angry and not to, just do the really intense clinging. And by clinging, I mean calling the person, if the person's out of town, calling over and over again, needing that person to talk to you, because we can do that to a certain extent in relationship, but if it goes too far, then it can change the dynamics of the relationship. So remind yourself when it comes up, this is past stuff, old feelings, whatever you can say that will help your emotions to calm down. And then the last step is to continue to do exactly what I've just pointed out until the feelings start to diminish, and they will diminish. Absolutely promise you that your fear of abandonment will lessen if you follow these steps. Just to remind us that we do all need a consistent person that loves us and cares for us. John 10:11 through 13 describes Jesus as our good shepherd. It says, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand is not the shepherd who owns the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. So we need that consistent, caring source in our life. If we didn't have that as children, if you didn't have that in other relationships, if you don't have that now, we know that God has promised in his son Jesus to be with us, and we are not alone. So, but I'd like to thank you for watching this video on Change My Relationship, and I would encourage you to watch more videos. I've got all kinds of videos on difficult relationships, on dysfunctional relationships, and also check out my website for my books and materials at changemyrelationship.com. Thank you.